it seems to me that one of the geniuses of the Biden presidency, that again, a lot of my left-wing liberal friends, I am a left-wing liberal, but my left-wing liberal friends seem to have turned a blind eye to for a
Yeah.
long time, is that there's no use talking about, for instance, gay rights or trans rights if you are leaving behind a huge angry section of the population. And Biden has done what Democrats always did back to FDR and said, okay, social change and the social agenda is good, but with jobs going overseas, let's do something for families. Let's do something for children. Continuing what Obama did with Obamacare, let's do something about medical care. If we don't bring people with us, some embittered, jerk, lying person will come along and will play the authoritarian cards on that anger. And I've got to say, to that extent, we kind of got what we wished for, because we did send the jobs overseas. We've left behind an enormous white, right-wing, uneducated population that got angry. And now they have formed
got angry, and
group.
we're struggling to make ends meet and survive.
Yeah, exactly. And our quote unquote mainstream media, woke up mighty late to talking to them rather than, running wedding announcements on the latest society wedding with nice photographs, if you want to put it that way. And where have we been? And then the other thing I want to mention, just as someone who came out of the evangelical background, is that I've been talking about what the evangelical right has been to this country for a very long time. And until recently, this kind of story never made it into the pages of the New York Times, rarely into the Washington Post. The New Yorker, wasn't going to look at this. The fact of the matter is, it's not like the evangelical movement went to the right with Trump. This culture war, spearheaded by people like the Heritage and the Federalist Society, this has been 50 years in preparation. These people were groomed to be in place when, come the day we have someone in power. The lists were already made to be whispered into Trump's ear as a deal to get him the votes. Why were we, the Democrats, so asleep at the switch in terms of just what was percolating under the surface that's now on the front page of every newspaper every day of the week?
Right. Well, again, was there an awareness of grievance? I would say that there was. Was there a shift that happened? Maybe it's the Clinton years sort of forward, where the Democratic Party began to lose touch with populations. And I'm thinking, white working class people who were increasingly no longer seeing the Democratic Party as the place for them. That's a misfortune combined with, what happened under the Reagan years sort of forward. I mean, a remarkable ability to get people to vote against their own economic best interests. And, we learned, George H.W. Bush learned that lesson, when he essentially played the race card and talked about what a Michael Dukakis administration was going to be. It was going to be, letting out the Willie Hortons of the world, and your world is going to become more dangerous and more violent. And, do you really want to let that happen? And so, I think that during the Obama administration, the level of vitriol towards him and towards his leadership, I underestimated, and I probably refused to believe that it was so fundamentally about the fact that he was a black man. But I've learned my lesson. I've come to understand that how powerful that impulse is, and how it's been exploited over and over again. So I think we're weirdly, I mean, this goes back, it goes back to the history, the beginnings of the country. It goes back to the failures of Reconstruction. It goes back to the Civil Rights Movement, and the remarkable moment of having a black president, and the anger that still exists that happened, and the belief that somehow is the end of the white majority and their opportunity to rule this country and the world. And so I think the forces that are playing out are not simply American. I think they're global. I mean, these same
Absolutely.
messages are happening, the Viktor Orbáns of the world. They're being said over and over about the need for white rule and nationalism as a way to push back the dark hordes.